We're coming to you today with a special global intelligence brief. Over the last several hours, we've seen a series of events that are quickly turning a regional conflict into something much, much bigger, a genuine global crisis. We're going to break down exactly what's happening.
You know, it's incredible what can happen in just 12 hours. A string of connected events has taken the ongoing US-Iran conflict and just supercharged it, pushing it onto the world stage. So let's dig into what's happened, where it's happening, and most importantly, why it matters to all of us.
Okay, we have to start in the Middle East. It is the absolute epicenter of this conflict, and it's where we're seeing direct military actions just escalating at a frankly alarming rate.
So what's driving all of this? Well, it really boils down to one thing: 1,000 pounds of enriched uranium. Iran's supreme leader has flat out refused to hand it over as part of a peace deal. And because of that, we're now hearing that the US is seriously considering a special forces op to go in and get it. That right there is the core tension pushing everything else forward.
And in response, the rhetoric has gone through the roof. Iran has issued a direct, and I mean direct, threat. They're now saying that the actual homes of US and Israeli officials across the region are considered targets. This makes the conflict personal, and that's a very dangerous new step.
And believe me, this isn't just talk. We're seeing action. Up in northern Israel, the major port city of Haifa, it was just hit by an Iranian missile strike. And this wasn't random. It was aimed right at the country's critical infrastructure.
The result was immediate. A massive fire erupted at a key oil refinery. This shows a clear strategy, right? It's a military attack designed to have an instant economic impact by choking off regional energy supplies.
Okay, now let's shift our focus south, down to the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. We're looking at Prince Sultan Air Base, a really critical hub for U.S. operations in the region. And it's here that another very high-value American asset was just taken out.
And when I say high value, I mean it. The cost of what was destroyed here is just staggering. We're talking about a single piece of equipment worth $500 million.
So what was it? A US E-3 Sentry AWACS plane. This is basically a flying command and control center. And here's the kicker. It was reportedly destroyed by an Iranian drone that might have cost as little as $10,000. That is a huge strategic loss from a relatively tiny investment.
Meanwhile, the conflict is heating up on another front, Lebanon. The IDF is hitting Hezbollah operatives, but the situation there is getting incredibly messy, with allegations that weapons are being moved around in ambulances. This just blurs all the traditional lines of warfare.
And in the middle of all this chaos, the conflict has now claimed an international victim, pulling yet another nation right into the middle of this mess.
An Indonesian UN peacekeeper was killed in the crossfire in Lebanon. 3 others were injured. And just like that, Jakarta is now involved, demanding, as you'd expect, a full and transparent investigation into what happened.
You know, this kind of military action doesn't happen in a vacuum. The impacts are now spreading well beyond the battlefield. So let's turn to the immediate financial consequences that are already being felt all around the world.
And of course, the first place you see the reaction is in the financial markets. As news of the escalation broke, the shockwaves hit Asia first, and they hit hard. Markets reacted exactly how you'd think, swiftly and very negatively.
I mean, just look at these numbers from the last 12 hours alone. South Korea's market is down 3%, bringing its total loss to over 15% since this war began. Japan dropped 2.8%. India lost 2.2%. This isn't just a dip, it's a serious crisis of confidence in the global economy.
But it's not just the stock markets. The real fear, the one that affects everyone, is about global trade grinding to a halt. With Houthi missile threats, there's a growing panic that 2 of the world's most critical maritime choke points for oil, the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab al-Mandab, could be shut down.
And you can see that fear priced in right here. Brent crude shot up to over $116 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate, or WTI, is over $112. This hits everyone's wallet everywhere.
So with all these military and economic alarms blaring, you have to ask, how is the rest of the world responding? Well, that brings us to the international diplomatic front. And frankly, it looks like it's starting to crack under the pressure.
It seems some key U.S. allies are getting nervous. Take Australia's Prime Minister Albanese. He's now publicly calling on the U.S. to lay out clearer military objectives and a definitive plan for de-escalation. That's diplomatic speak for, what is the end game here?
And it's not just Australia. The UK is now warning Israel not to seize territory in Lebanon. We already mentioned Indonesia's demand for an investigation, and then you have Belgium, offering support, but with a catch. They've pledged demining forces for the Strait of Hormuz, but only after the war is over.
So what you've got here is this incredible split screen. On one side, you have the international community and U.S. allies urging caution and calling for a clear plan. But on the other, the domestic picture in the U.S. seems very different. We're seeing reports of pro-war demonstrators marching in Washington, D.C., fully supporting the campaign against Iran.
So, after a really chaotic 12 hours, where does this leave us? Let's just quickly recap the steps that have brought the entire world to this incredibly precarious point.
First, we've seen direct military strikes on hugely strategic targets. Second, that led to immediate and severe disruption to the global economy. And third, we are now watching the diplomatic front begin to splinter under all this pressure. Every one of these is another step up the escalation ladder.
With military, economic, and diplomatic tripwires all flashing red across the globe, all at the same time, we've hit a really dangerous moment. We are in uncharted territory. And the only question that matters right now is, what on earth will the next 12 hours bring?